Well, I woke up this morning and it was 12 degrees. So it was a perfect opportunity to quickly discuss cold starting and how that might affect your decision on which excursion to buy. Now, when it's cold out, diesels as a rule are significantly more finicky than gas engines when starting, which is why the diesels will come with a block heater. Now, to my knowledge, all of the 6 liters came from the factory with the block heater, just some didn't come with the cord. So if you buy a 6 liter and you don't have the cord, you can get one from Amazon or the dealer and just plug it in there, plug it onto the side of the heater and then run it out the front. Now, this is just a standard 110 volt wall plug, and some people set them up on a timer to come on 4 or 5 hours before they leave. Some people leave them plugged in all the time. You just got to make sure that the cord's in good shape and the heater's in good shape, because there have occasionally been issues where there's been a fire. So it being 12 degrees, all of these things are 12 degrees, and none of them have been plugged in, none of them have been driven. So we're gonna see how they start. First, we're gonna start with the V10 gas. Now this, you won't have to, when you turn the key, you don't gotta wait for the glow plugs or anything, because it doesn't have them. Now keep in mind, this one is pretty neglected, so I'm thinking the idle air control valve might be dirty, but well, there you have it. It started right up. And it stalls. Yeah, it needs an idle air control valve. This one's pretty cold-blooded, but it started right up, and if the idle air control valve was clean, then it would be idling fine. But that's something else I'm gonna have to address, because this thing has just not been happy lately. So anyway, that is the gas V10. Now, if yours was maintained properly before you bought it, like this one obviously has not been, as you can tell by the interior, it would be a lot happier than it is. So on to the next one. Alrighty, now we are in the 7.3 diesel. Now, when I turn the key, a little icon's gonna light up here on the dash. And it's funny, it's a glow plug symbol, but I always thought it looked like a curly fry. But you're gonna turn the key and you're gonna wait. Now, what that's going to do is allow the glow plugs that we talked about yesterday that help aid in cold starting. It's going to allow them time to get warm. And then I'm going to wait for the light to go off before I crank. Now, even though the light goes off, the glow plugs will still stay on. And the computer determines when they need to go off by the intake air temp and the water temp. But they usually stay on for about a minute total. And then that air intake heater I was telling you about that the 7.3s have will pick up the slack. So we're gonna go ahead and crank her over. See, it's still on. Yeah, see, fired right up. We already have low pressure oil and it's idling just fine. Now, what these will do is, depending on the strategy, most of them will still do it, is they'll have a high idle strategy. So as I'm sitting in here and I haven't touched the gas or the brake, it's sitting at about 900 RPMs. Now, if you continue to not touch the gas or the brake, the idle usually comes up to about 1700 RPMs, and it'll stay high until the engine gets sufficiently warm and the computer drops the idle down. Or if you hit the gas or the brake, it'll drop it back down to its normal idle. Now, some aftermarket tuners will allow you to have a tune with high idle, and if you have a Super Duty, you can usually do a high idle mod where you hook up a wire to one of the upfitter switches and leave that on if you want to have high idle. But for the Excursions, because they didn't have the upfitter switches, the high idle function is nice to warm it up. Now, if I was driving these things every day, I would definitely plug them in, but since I haven't been, I'm just kind of showing you how they behave in the cold. So this one's up. This one has 297,000 miles on it, and it doesn't smoke, it doesn't knock, doesn't do anything. It runs great. So we're gonna go on to the 6-liter now. Alrighty, now it's time for the 6-liter. Same thing. Go ahead and key on engine off. Wait for the glow plugs. Now it fired right up, but you can hear that it's kind of a rough idle, so these things will do that until they get warmed up. A lot of the time, if your injectors are older, they suffer from an issue called stiction, where the little valve inside that moves back and forth will start getting sticky, or if you've gone a long time between oil changes, you start getting varnish in there, and all of those can contribute to hard starts on the diesels especially. So anyway, just wanted to show you guys the differences between them. Usually the V10 would start a lot easier, but this thing has been neglected. I mean, I feel bad for it. It just was not taken care of, even though it's a really nice truck. It's just gross inside, and the guys just did nothing to it as far as maintenance. So I'm gonna go ahead and it'll be fixed up along the way. And as far as cold starts go, there's your comparison. Now, it was only 12 this morning, but I know that it can get a lot colder than that. You can get into the negatives, -20, -30 in some places, but that's the coldest I've seen it here in a while. But yeah, it was the best I could do for you, so just wanted to get that up and let you guys see. What's up, everyone? We are back. I am sitting at the gas station with the V10 Excursion. Just put some gas in it this morning because it was real low, but anyway, got the camera mounted up on the window and turn the radio down. We're gonna take it around town. I just wanted to show you how they drive differently, the different characteristics, acceleration, all that kind of stuff. Now, this guy's gonna be a little bit louder than it would be stock because someone stuck a Flowmaster on it and it's dumping under the cab, so it's significantly louder, but I like how it sounds. Just put about 20 gallons in it and some fuel injector cleaner because the injectors are dirty. But anyway, this one is lifted. According to the VIN, it has the 373 rear axle ratio, and it does have slightly bigger tires, so it will behave a hair differently than the other Excursions, but it's not a whole lot different. The tires are about 1.5 inches bigger than the ones on the tan Excursion, about a little under 2 inches bigger than the ones on the blue Excursion, so it shouldn't be that big of a difference. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna drive around town a little bit, and I'm gonna describe our driving experience and let you know how it goes. So we'll see how she does. This is honestly the first time I've driven it more than down the street since I got it last month, because I had to trailer at home. It just was scary to try to drive. So, but yeah, it's actually holding idle and running great, so we'll see how it does. Alrighty, here we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take it up to 35. This one's shifting up. I'm not getting over. This one's shifting nice and firm because it does have a built transmission in it with only about 6,000 miles. Get up to the next light, the speed limit changes, so I'm going to open it up a little bit, show you guys how it does. We're just cruising at about 43.
speed limit up here is 55. Let's get up to it and see how she does. There we go, 55. About half throttle, holding nicely. She's doing good. The only thing I'm noticing is pieces of the clear coat coming off the hood. About 60. Go a little more, then we'll turn around. Holding 60 at 2,000 RPMs. Tires are noisier than the engine at this point, so it's not too bad. This thing's a pleasure to drive. This V10, just the torque and the power is just immediately there. As soon as you step on the gas, it's right there. There's no waiting for it, no turbo lag. So we're about to level off here. I'm going to find a place to turn around. Right here will do. I'll go ahead and stop. I'll flip around. Now I am going slightly downhill, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop, and we're at 0, and I'm gonna do 0 to 60. So 1, 2, 3, go. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. There we go. I didn't time it, but that's not bad. This thing shifts really nicely, really aggressively. I don't know if you could hear it, but it actually made the fan belt chirp. So this upgraded built transmission's making a huge difference, because a lot of the time these things are all sloppy. But no, this thing drives great. I'm really enjoying it. It's the first time I've actually taken a V10 powered Excursion out. I drove a V10 powered Econoline. I've driven a Super Duty, but this thing's really nice to drive. I really like it. It's a good truck. It's just nice that the power's right there. There's no waiting. As soon as I put my foot down and started climbing, and these things love to live at the higher RPM range. That's where they like to do their work. So yeah, I mean it's super responsive, and it does great. I have absolutely no complaints about it. I could see, you know, if you were pulling 10,000 pounds up the hill or something, it might be, you know, it might be a little laggy and down on power. But I mean, for what it is, it's, you know, with the lift and the bigger tires, it's doing really well. I'm very pleased with it. I think it's a badass engine and a badass platform, and I just like the look of this truck because it's got the lift on it and everything. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at on the V10. We're gonna go ahead and we'll definitely be doing more driving, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop by the pad and get one of the different ones. Okay, we are out of the V10 and we are driving the 7.3 now. Now, V10 had a muffler, but other than that, it was stock. Well, it had a Flowmaster. All of them have mufflers, but this thing is completely bone stock. There isn't even a K and N in it or something, so this is what a stock 7.3 will get you in one of these. So, speed limit's 35 here. It's still warming up a little bit. I don't live that far from this hill, so cruising at about, and I'll tell you, about 50 right now. You can hear it's louder inside than the V10 was, but as the engine gets warmer, it'll actually get quieter. They clatter quite a bit when they're cold. So they're doing about 55. We got a little grade coming up here at 55 miles an hour at around 1,550 RPMs. Now it's 65 up here, and I'm gonna lay into it a little bit, get her to kick down. Alright, that's 65. You can hear, I mean, once the turbo lights, it's pretty effortless. I mean, these things just, the kind of torque they make as soon as they really start getting on boost and stuff is quite amazing. I mean, they're great engines to begin with, but once that turbo lights, it's, yeah, you're gone. Just slow down a little bit. Yeah, come up here and turn around. Let me lay into it a little bit. Oh yeah. Let me find a spot to turn around. Well, I pulled over. I am stopped, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn around up here. I'm gonna do a downhill burst just like I did on the other one. Yeah, you can hear this thing just, it loves being on boost. Even though it's a stock turbo, stock injectors, they just, these diesel engines, they were good engines before, capable of plenty of power and torque, but as soon as manufacturers started sticking turbos on them, they just totally upped the game. I love them. Yeah, just clattering along. Happy to pull, happy to do the work, so I'm gonna flip around right here. Yeah, this guy's gonna need a power steering box because when you're stopped, it is not happy. All right, let's turn around. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna do a 0 to 60. So I'm stopped. 3, 2, 1. There's the turbo. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. It accelerates pretty quick. I mean, I am going downhill, but I mean, it's hard to argue with the power that the diesel puts down. V10's cool too. V10 does a lot of good work as well, but it does it at higher RPMs. I mean, you can't see it now, but the red line on the dash on this thing is right over 3,500 for the 7.3, so it's not very high. That's why it'll go a little over 3 and then start shifting even when you're into it. It doesn't really want to get into the upper ranges, but yeah, that's the 7.3. I mean, super solid base for an Excursion or a Super Duty or anything else. I mean, the 7.3 was around for a while. Originally came in the early 90s, and they didn't have a turbo on it. That was the IDI 7.3, but then they started creating the 7.3 Power Stroke in late 95, and that's when they coined the name on the old body style Fords. But yeah, this one's a later one. So 99, it got different injectors, it got different strategies, they got an intercooler, so they were able to up the power a little bit, and then the torque figures as well. But overall, it's a solid motor. Even if you get it in an OBS, I mean, no complaints. It's easily buildable too. So strong bottom end, and it was even stronger prior to early 02. Prior to that, it had forged rods in it, so you could build a little bit more power without having to worry about it. But solid choice for an Excursion if you can find one. I know the 7.3s are commanding quite a bit of money these days, and for good reason. I mean, you can get, you know, low 20s, high teens, even pulling a light load. So I mean, how are you gonna argue with that? Modern trucks won't do that. These are a lot simpler to work on. So yeah, 7.3, good solid choice for an Excursion. If you like the 7.3, find one, buy one, you'll be in good shape. This one, yeah, this one's almost 300,000 miles in it. Drives perfectly. So yeah, we'll do the 6.0 next. All right, we are in the 6-liter Excursion. Doing this one more time. Now, I don't know if you can tell by the sound of the from the camera mic, but the interior noise in this one is significantly less than the 7.3. And I've kind of done a couple loops around town just to get them warm before I started climbing this little pass. But yeah, this engine's significantly quieter, but the tires are kind of noisy because they're like all-terrains. But yeah, we're doing about 45 right now. Just, yeah, 45 at 1350 RPM. I think it's in overdrive. But let's cruise along up here. Let me slow down a little bit so I can kick it down. I'm only going like 47 and the speed limit's 55, but there's a semi in front of me, so make a little distance and then romp on it a little bit. This guy has 212,000 miles on it. 212,739, so it's, in the diesel world, it's a youngin'. The semi is making a little distance on me, so I'm gonna kick it down. So this is foot to the ground. There we go. This thing just accelerates just so incredibly effortlessly. You just put it down and it just goes. I mean, the 7.3 goes, but this thing just does it. Doesn't even feel like it's working hard. It just, you kick it down and it just goes. The VGT vanes on the variable vanes on the turbo just pop in and start making boost, and it just pulls. These things are capable of making such stupid power with little investment. I mean, once you do the initial studding and O-ringing, if you're going to, you do injectors and turbo and a good tune, and they're incredible. This one's quiet because it's still got the stock muffler and cat on it, but even stock, completely stock, and you put an exhaust on it, they sound incredible. In my opinion, the 6 liter is the best sounding diesel that was ever stuck in a Ford. I mean, I like my 6.7, the 6.4s sound cool too, but just the pop of the 6 liter is just incredible. It's such an unmistakable sound. You know one when you hear it. It can't be confused with anything else. Yeah, I mean, I'm climbing the hill at 60 at about 1700 RPMs, and I'm a quarter into the throttle, and this thing just climbing like it's like it's not even doing anything. So I'm gonna come up here and turn around, and I'll do the same thing I did with the other ones, or turn around and do a 0 to 60. But yeah, I mean, if you have the money to invest in a diesel Excursion, I mean, the 7.3 is known for just rock solid reliability, and the 6 liter is known for just kind of being the racing one out of all of them. It's kind of known as, quote unquote, the drag racing diesel that was out of the 7.3 and the 6 liter, because I mean, you can build a 7.3 to be quick, but the 6 liter is just, yeah, I mean, they're incredible engines. Let me turn around. Okay, we are stopped, and 3, 2, 1. Foot down. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So it's, yeah, they it gets it pretty good. And keep in mind, this is completely stock. I mean, if I were to just put an exhaust and an intake and tune it, it would be significant power increase. But like I said, the biggest downfalls of these ones were the emission systems, and it's, you know, illegal to remove it and whatnot. But if you live on a farm or you have a big piece of property or whatever, you get rid of it, off-road use only, and yeah, that really wakes them up, especially the EGR delete and the cat delete. That's the biggest thing that helps these, because the cat just restricts the exhaust and you get high exhaust gas temperatures, and then the EGRs can rupture and put water in your engine and hydrolock it, blow your head gaskets, and cause all sorts of issues. But you know, there are a couple companies that make bulletproof, quote unquote, bulletproof EGR coolers that don't crack or whatnot. That's probably your best bet. But yeah, one of these completely uncorked is just freaking awesome. So I mean, that's, you know, that's just a little bit of me driving these things around. I mean, I'm gonna do a couple more tests with them, as you guys are gonna see, but just a basic just, you know, running them up the little hill and coming back, you can kind of see the difference in how these things behave. I mean, Yeah, I mean, there's really no bad choice as far as power plants for the Excursion. Like I said, I've never owned a 5.4 Excursion. I don't plan on owning one. I think the 5.4 is a great engine. I just think in the Excursion platform, especially with four-wheel drive, I think it was underpowered, you know, quite a bit. Now, if you're running around town, you know, picking up your kids or, you know, pulling like a pop-up trailer or whatever, hey, more power to you, get that 5.4 Excursion. But for a few miles per gallon more, you can get the V10, and it's just leaps and bounds power-wise ahead of the 5.4. And especially in something this heavy, if it was like an Expedition or something, 5.4 is perfect. But I mean, if you're looking for a gas Excursion, in my opinion, I'd go with the V10 for sure. And between the two diesels, the 6-liter feels quicker, and it does make more power, but the 7.3 is known for like stupid good reliability. So kind of comes down to that. I mean, I love driving all three of these things. I mean, I picked the tan one for the wife, and she was going to be working a lot further from home, but she didn't end up, you know, working far from home. She got a job that's about 2 miles away, so she's probably going to end up driving the V10 because, you know, gas mileage won't be a concern. And just driving a diesel in town, you know, 1 or 2 miles a day, just it's not good for them. It just, they need to be driven. They need to come up to temperature. They need to just be driven. You can't just let them get lukewarm and then just basically that be their life. You need to take them out and hammer on them a little bit and just keep them, you know, keep them nice and you know, internally lubed up and just maintained. And it just, I would kind of feel bad, you know, a nice diesel like this going to waste just going 1 or 2 miles a day. So she's probably gonna end up with the V10, but it's obviously gonna need a lot of work. But it's kind of where we're at. I mean, you've seen the three choices. I mean, I'm gonna do more tests, but as far as the comparisons I've done so far with, you know, the descriptions and kind of showing you guys what's going on, and then interior differences and whatnot, I mean, there's ample options to choose from, and they're not making these things anymore, so they're getting harder to find, but they're just great SUVs. So that's kind of my summary of just, you know, taking these things around town a little bit and kind of showing you. But definitely more testing to come, so stay tuned.